All right, everybody, give me a quick second here. I'm actually plugging my headset in right before we begin this meeting. Just give me a split moment. All of our traders know in the trading room, the second I unplug my headset, I'm going to die off in a second. I have a weak battery on this headset. Nevertheless, great to see everybody, though, of course, this Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday, April 28th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back for our afternoon meeting, guys. Let's get a quick chat back, not just in our trading room, but of course, streaming across social media, Facebook and YouTube alike. Let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. Perfect already from the chat board I see here. Ken, David, Lawrence, Bonnie, John, Michael, Mark, Ralph. Oof, I'm on point today with really no water in my water bottle. That's not a good sign. All right, great to see everybody else, though. Brian, Kathleen, Philip, Cliff, Josh, C. I love the name. Great to see you. And of course, again, everyone across YouTube and Facebook. So let's begin our afternoon meeting. Of course, the Dow to begin. Ended up seeing a nice gap up early, but have to say we were kind of expecting this to a slight degree. A sharper drop off heading into this morning, ended up breaking lower lows by like 10 o'clock, 10:30, and a free fall going into the later part of the morning. So, very nice day to short a few stocks early upon the market open, but as you could see, has bounced back since. It's been in a bit of a tighter trading range going into the lunchtime period here. So, we haven't had as many, trades to focus on. Well, let me correct myself right there. Not as many trades that are moving, as slow as the market is, meaning that we actually have a couple of stocks that have been popping across the last, 20, 30 minutes. Not to say they're moving with the market as much, but we have actually had a pretty decent day altogether just from market open to right now. In fact, the one that we were just talking about, and it's still pushing up heading into this afternoon, is the AMC trade. So I don't think there's any further news on AMC, and honestly, I don't have the time to look. All I care about is the level, and if you look into the news as this thing is popping, you're just going to miss the run. So this was a pretty easy trade, guys. I have to say, we don't toss the E word around too often, but hey, you tend to identify the smart money, you follow the trend. It's an easy trade. So AMC, we just had up on the screen going into this afternoon meeting, and easy to say this part as well. We're going to put this on our afternoon watch list. How about that? So, AMC, of course, right near the highs of the day still. We happen to see a 24,000 share order on the ask at 424. Looking on level 4 right now, guys, looking on Bookmap, I don't really see a clear identifiable resistance. There isn't really one order that truly stands out above and beyond the rest here. So that leads to one of two things that I think. A, if there really isn't a clear identifiable resistance, if this continues to break coming up, I would like to think this could really begin to fly. Otherwise, if there isn't a clear resistance ahead, this might be the end of the run. So Ken just wrote in the chat board, take the profits. That would be a pretty smart idea, Ken, right? At least for now. And we'll look to see if this can just break higher, or if there's a new iceberg order that could act as the next target to focus on. But yeah, at least for the meantime, we will at least put AMC on our afternoon list. From this morning, though, guys, I have to say we did really well on a few stocks from the morning list. I'd be remiss to not start by going over NAT. And, NAT is spiking up a bit right now. We watched this early on this morning in the pre-market hold really well underneath 8. We commented on this shortly after the open, myself and Fausto live in the trading room here, but, made a clean pop over 8. Really quick pop, and from there, not to say easy, but the end result was a big move. So if you jumped in right off the 8 level, you had a very easy opportunity to take a quick profit. After that point, though, it became a little bit more difficult of a trade to anticipate continue higher. It broke over 850 nicely. The 15-second chart would show that better, but broke over 850 pretty nicely. The second attempt it ran higher, but after that it came screaming back down. And something that I observed early in the pre-market was the fact that NAT had these big gaps on the daily chart, gap ups over and over across this week and last week. So I was thinking to myself, well, at what point does this begin to really drop off? I mean, it's had some red days, right? It's closed lower than it's opened over the last week or so, but ultimately it's just gone up. So when are we really going to have the beginning of a downtrend here? So with as much as this went up, came back down, and over time, it eventually broke underneath 8 support, had a tough time doing that. Myself and Donald were trying to jump in this short under 8, and it took a couple of attempts, but we were able to get the short off, and it was a nice payoff. But man, this thing ended up breaking down rather nicely just before from the 750 level. Utterly just tanked below 750, dropped for about 35 to 40 cents. And, as of now, you can see, as of now, you can see it broke actually through 750. You can see it ended up breaking right through that resistance, but as of now, it's right back at that same price. So, we'll look to see what happens coming up. Is 750 going to hold as resistance now at this point on NAT? Is it just going to hold and flatten out under 750? If so, that would lead me to think we're going to get our continued move down and potentially to continue to break lower. Otherwise, if this holds above 750 and squeezes back up, then perhaps, although I wouldn't expect it as much, perhaps we'll look to see this run higher into the close. Either way, NAT has been a fantastic day trade stock. We can go long, we can go short. Cheap stock too, liquid order book. It's very volatile given the liquidity, guys. Keep that in mind. So, if you're just eyeballing the ECN book, level 3, this ain't your normal level 1 or 2 stock. This is certainly more of like a level 3 at times. There we go, Ken. Like that. Got a comment right here from YouTube saying NAT morning trade violates the 5-minute rule. To a great degree, it does. To a great degree, it does there. That's a great point. Typically we tend to say for our newly enrolled students and new traders joining us, those that are very inexperienced dealing with the type of volatility that NAT carries, we normally say to wait the first few minutes, the first 3 to 5 minutes, right? In order to see the true trend direction. So this would be an example. If you waited the first 5 minutes, you missed the pop, right? We do mention that rule for newly enrolled students and students that are just beginner students in our phase 1 course. The more and more you tend to follow stocks like NAT and really just the watch list that we put out every day, you become more comfortable dealing with the type of volatility. So over time, you'll become better at reacting at certain price levels. So not to say easy, but if you jumped in off of 8, it would have been easy to take a profit. All right, now, needless to be said, NAT, we're going to just add to our list for the close. All right, so NAT, nice winner. We also had, this one was more pre-market. I have to say, it was kind of a dud after 9:30. Small Direct Club, STC. Big pop prior to 8 o'clock, but even of course after that, it ran up a little bit higher. So this was really the talk of the trading room leading into 9:30. Just wanted to go over this rather quick because we didn't comment too much on it afterwards. Well, it broke underneath support at 650. It was very choppy after that point, held pretty much where it had opened up, essentially right off of 680, 679. And never really had as clean of a breakout afterwards. Actually, just before, Ken called out 650 resistance. Fantastic setup. Just again, you could see even at this point in the day, just the volume waned off rather quick. It was a great call out, but didn't make its big move. Can it make its big move later on today? Maybe. I don't really like putting my weight in maybes. So for right now, we're not going to put this on the main list. SDC. Let's see, what else did we have? We had AMC. That was actually on the morning stock list too. NAT. And then alongside that, although they weren't on the main watch list, the cruise lines and the airlines, these are always just on our side list, and they have been across the last several months. But we ended up seeing continuation upon the market open today for NCLH, CCL, and the airlines too. American Airlines ran very nicely heading into the early afternoon here, broke out over resistance at 11, trended up very nicely throughout the afternoon so far. It's interesting to say that again when you tend to see not even just the Dow, but you look at like the NASDAQ 100, the S&P 100, just kind of flat movement here. So a lot of stocks moving up, kind of not to say against the grain, but without the momentum of the market. Got a comment also here from YouTube saying SNDX. That's right. That was really the star of the morning, I have to say. So, this one certainly ended up making a huge run leading into the open, ended up running all the way up towards an eventual high of the day of 2074. You have to figure for a stock running up as nicely as this has been off the lows, 20 would be a psychological level. Also, of course, a large volume-based resistance, but it popped above 20, moved up nicely. You can see it held above 20 as support, right? Well, if we happen to see that support break, look out. And that's literally the point where it ended up finishing up its run. You could see recently it moved back up to 20, but as of now, it's still kind of flat. The spread isn't as big as it was upon the market open, so that I do like to see. For right now, I'll keep this on the side. It's been a very volatile stock across the whole day, of course. Maybe we'll come back to this, see if this can make its move back up towards 20. All right, so with that in mind, we'll come back to SNDX, of course, number 2 on the gainers list already. Let's start with number 1, CREX. And this was one also that we ended up following, not as much from the market open, but shortly afterwards. You could see the big pop right at 10 o'clock, got halted. And, it took a little while, but ended up re-breaking resistance, broke above from 168. Give me a couple secs, guys. I'm getting some private messages just in the trading room. I can't answer them right now. I just, once we're done, I'll be able to write you back at least. Looking at this pop, we could see the breakout over 173, 175 or so. And from that point, it really began to make its move. So the CREX trade, very nice run from before. You can see, of course, now very flat. Normally stocks that make one big giant run up early in the morning, they normally don't make a second big move going into the close like this. I mean, at this stage, I'd say, if it was trending higher going into the end of the day or near the highs, I'd give it a little bit more, of a push, more of a focus. But for right now, it just seems really flat. One that does not seem to be flat, KURA. Cura. I don't know what the company does. Looks like an oncology company. All right. Tight spread, obviously new high of the day, trading a lot of volume this point in the afternoon, guys. Right now, as of this time, 2:45 Eastern time, you could see on my chart, KURA is trading about 35,000, 33,000 shares per minute. That's a lot given this point in the day. So for right now, easily we're going to put this on the top of our list. Not to say this is going to be as easy of a trade to follow. I mean, the stock made like really just one big retracement throughout the day. That was it. A slight pullback and then it broke support. So a bigger shake. But since that point, it's been on a perfect trend. When is this going to pull back, guys? That's the question I always like to ask here. So for right now, we still have to respect the trend on the way up. But let's say if this ends up breaking underneath a big support, perhaps at that stage, what do you know? Perhaps at that stage, it could potentially be a good short to follow. So it looks like as of now, we're seeing a pretty sharp drop. Maybe that's the beginning of said move. So we'll add KURA to our list, at least for the afternoon. It is shortable still for those that have TradeStation. All right. Oh, man. Let's see what else do we have. CTXR, flat. NGL, got a couple of other symbols in relation to that stock. NGL, near the highs of the day, it has a liquid order book, so that'll I like to see. I'll come back to this. See if there we'll see if there's better opportunities, at least based on the chart and level 3. DSS not doing much. IBIO, talk about a dud from this morning. Really unfortunate. IBIO, pretty strong move in pre-market, I have to say. So for those of you that jumped in on this trade after it broke higher in pre-market, you did pretty well. Just after the open, it failed to break out over 150. So that was the setup we were focused on after the market opened. If it's not breaking above that, then we're not expecting as clean of a up move, at least at that point. So, you can't short it. You just got to throw it away at that stage. So, this was kind of disappointing after 9:30. Made a nice move, at least from pre-market. All right, AMC already on our list. And DBD, this is a nice stock to follow, or at least from earlier it was. This is a stock I'll tend to find every now and then kind of creeping its way up on the gainer side at points. And if anything, for every time I've noticed this stock on the gainer side, at least before just now, it's been making these steady trends. This is a nice, subtle stock to follow here. At least for the afternoon, we'll add this to our watch list again. Shortable for those that have TradeStation. It's been pulling back pretty nicely so far already. Otherwise, the VWAP's right here, 518. Looks like we probably have some volume on the bid at 516, 512. My assumption would be 5, of course, for that to be a major support. All right, Tupperware company. We saw the stock break all-time lows maybe a month or two ago, and then it's been squeezing back up pretty nicely here. It's at the highs of the day going into the afternoon. Looking at this crazy drop off across the last year or so on the daily chart, has a long ways to go to get back up towards 35 and above. Of course, we're not expecting that, but either way, Tupperware will add to our watch list. Definitely more of like a level 1 stock, level 2 stock, if that. Very tight spread at the highs right now, almost like a Fausto flag building here. I like this trade as of now. Tupperware. SDC, on the other hand, pulling back a little bit more. Probably going to scratch this from the side list. I wonder if Ben's tuning in right now. Ben S in the chat room. He has his GGAL up here, Argentinian stock. I remember when Argentinian markets were falling off. This was one of the stocks that got crushed. You could see just on the daily chart the big gap down and ensuing drop off after. What was the other one? There was another one with GGAL. Damn, I don't remember it off the top of my head. There were two in particular, two different Argentinian stocks. If Ben's tuning in, he'll let me know. This was one. I'm sure I'll find the other. Let's see. If I were to see it, I would know right away. I don't. All right, that's fine. At least for now, GGAL, it's near the highs. Not really the greatest trend as of now, so we'll keep it on the side. A bunch of other familiar names, guys, really on the gainer side right now. How about this? WKHS. Steady trend here. $2 stock. We traded this going back into April and the summer of last year, on and off, more on than off. But, familiar name. We've seen the stock make a big move in the past. Tight spread, pretty trend up to 3. Can't go wrong with that. Let's see. Probably have a lot of stocks like this, to be transparent. Save Spirit Airlines trending up, or it was very nicely. So, like we were talking about before, airlines, cruise lines, all moving up pretty nicely. So I feel like it's going to be lazy of me to put, but it's efficient at the same time. I'll put Air and Sea at the same time, just on our list. The airlines and cruise lines alike. NCLH, CCL. NCLH looks sharper, which is kind of surprising. Normally it's CCL, it's the more volatile. But either way, we'll put all of them on. AAL, of course, American Airlines. UAL, I saw Nancy pick up some good change on that trade before. Of course, Delta Airlines. I think they reported earnings last week. So Air and C will kind of just label together there. We have a pretty big list already with that in mind. All right, EMPH fell off. SLCA, we have a lot more, guys, as far as familiar names. SLCA looks kind of interesting. Harley Davidson off of earnings as well. So we're going to add Harley Davidson to our list here too. Double top almost near the highs of the day. 2220 is your real high. Had a tough time kind of breaking higher from there, it seems like. So yeah, Harley Davidson will add to our list. You know what? Hey, if we have a lot of stocks on our list from the gainer side, my assumption is that we're not going to have as many from the losers. So we have a big list already, but we'll see if there's anything else that we could add from this side. BMPC, or BPMC, I should say, pretty expensive. Shortable, which I like, but trading kind of light volume this point in the day. Seems very flat. Semi, CEMI, nice short drop off from earlier. If I were to add one stock from the losers list, I think it would be this Semi. If I were to. I don't think I am. I like the list that we have here, guys, so far. So unless if there's anything that's just like crashing, breaking a new low, a really good short opportunity, I'll consider it. But I'll be transparent. I'm just looking at this losers list. Not really too many familiar names. A bunch of crap that's just hard to borrow that we can't short really anyway. So yeah, I mean, we have a big list between the Air and C stocks. That's like 6 alone, and more than that, truly. But we'll focus on probably about 6 altogether from those 2 sectors or industries. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got 13 total symbols on our list here so far, guys. Big list. All right, from the chat board, I'm sorry. I saw from Ken before. Can't go wrong with Oxy OXY, up 7+% near the highs of the day, right? So, it looks like that's pushing up pretty nicely too, Ken. It is a familiar name. How many do I have on here? I got 12. All right, last one. That's it, though. Remember when I told you guys earlier today in Traders Talk that we had a Josh watch list in the morning? Fausto put 12 stocks on the watch list, and I said, hey, it's like a Josh watch list that we had. There's a reason why I said that. I have 13 stocks on our watch list heading into the afternoon, guys. So a lot of opportunity. Doesn't mean that we're going to trade it all, and doesn't mean that you should focus on every single one. So how about this? Just like we always say, start off with just a couple, just a few at most. Hey, if you did well on NCLH earlier, stick with NCLH. Why would you go elsewhere? Breaking new highs. It's a shortable stock if it goes elsewhere. And aside from that, if you did well on it before, again, why would you stray away from that? Same to be said for other stocks too. NAT, of course, still very tradable in a tighter range as of now. So, NCLH, CCL, the airlines, of course, as well, seem to be moving a little bit better. But again, there's opportunity everywhere. It seems like Oxy still tradable near the highs of the day. Put that on the list. So, again, if you did well on Oxy, same rules apply. All right, guys. So across social media here, if you'd like to learn more about what we offer at Cyber Trading University, feel more than free to register on the link below, actually, or feel free to call our office on the number below as well. Aside from that, again, for all of our students here in the trading room, of course, we'll look to post and tweet our watch list right now and see if there's anything else otherwise that we can catch heading into the final hour of our day. All right, guys. Aside from that, great luck to all going into this market close, and I'll talk to you all pretty soon. Take care.